The amateur game has always been a big part in our lives. It's always the topic of our conversations and it's constantly on our minds on a daily basis.
Although it's not at a professional level, the amateur game is a working class sport at a working class level. Players put their bodies on the line, lives on hold, and have worked their socks off to be the best they can be from the top to the bottom of the amateur game.
We live and breathe football, and the amateur game has given us our best years in football. Both of us have come to the end of our playing days and want to sit and speak to the legends of the game, legends in their world, to sit and listen about the careers and stories of the game we love.
Welcome to our podcast.
3 points, please.
Okay, today we have a man that probably doesn't need much of an introduction. I think everybody would know him on an amateur level. We're in the game, and I won't need to continue too much on, but Gerry Smith, welcome.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Gerry.
Thank you.
So you're back on the home soil now. You're a Finglas man.
Yeah, I grew up in McKelvey. Well, I was out 8 and I moved out 9. So started off in McKelvey. Great little road, 108 houses, because I used to know them all, because I used to do the papers there, deliver all the papers, Herald Press, in that door, out that door. So great little scheme. Out on its own, we were nobody annoying us.
McKelvey was like in Finglas, like nearly the countryside back then, wasn't
it?
It was
like a posh area now, boy.
It's posh, yeah. Dubber Cross and Margaret's, they were our next door neighbours, and in the summertime we'd be out picking the bulbs and the potatoes and the strawberries. That's the way it was. So
Very good, yeah.
McKelvey was the first port of call for the farmers coming in and pick us all, and away we went.
Very good,
That's where the summers were spent, along with playing matches on the road for about 5 hours.
That's when the road leagues was about back then, was it?
Road leagues and the mini Olympics, wasn't it? The mini Olympics they used to have. But then we had our own matches, so you went. McKelvey there was great matches there every day, every night throughout the whole summer. But
back then, obviously, wasn't that many cars in the way. But nowadays, you can move. Everyone's double parked. There's 2-3 cars outside houses.
There was probably a half dozen cars in McKelvey at the time, and sure, every new time they're coming at, and we'd wait for them to go, and then the match would continue.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, is it?
Deadly, yeah. Did you have much an affiliation with like Finglas, even though it is in Finglas, but right next door? Or?
A lot of my friends lived over this side. Pat O'Mara, God be good to him. He was down on what's the one down there? Barry. John Atkinson around the corner in Barry Green. Brian O'Toole, Johnny O'Toole. They were all the fellows I knocked around with. We used to go and follow shells together, and then the 4 of us joined Pats when we were youth team players. We went to Pats together. I was with McKelvey Celtic. They were with Wefton. They always wanted me to join Wefton. I said, no.
That was my next question. Why did you never come over to
why
us?
did I never?
The dark side.
I ended up playing with well, I went to Pats when I was 16, 17. I was playing with McKelvey Celtic, and we won the under 16 league. My father was the manager. He was one of the founder members of McKelvey.
Very good.
And so we won the league. And George Richardson was the manager of Pats, and he came down to watch the final. We played in Haddon Park. We beat Bromley in the playoff 4-2. George Richardson was the manager of Pats, and so he took a few of us up, Johnny Atkinson, myself, and then Brian and Pudger joined later. Jack Burkett was the manager. He was unbelievable, that fella. He just had come in from West Ham. He'd won a European Cup Winners' Cup and an FA Cup. So this was our manager. I was 17. You see this giant walking into the dressing room. You knew you were in business. Cracking stuff.
At that age, Gerry, do you go in with? That's obviously St. Pat's League of Ireland. Do you
go? Yeah.
Do you go into a reserve, or is there an under 19?
No, there was no. In those days, you were with the youths. So I was 16, going just 17, and then you got a few matches in the reserves. You're brought in with the reserves, but then of course the thing was, so you had the basis of a youths team, and then every so often they're just bringing in players continuously to see who's the best. They'd be all coming in and out. They'd sign them throughout the year, and then if there was a couple of lads coming back from the first team, like, don't forget in those days you'd only 2 reserves. So the fellas that were due to play in the first team, they'd come back and play in the reserves on a Saturday, and that's where we got all our schooling, the fellas from the first team.
So as a Shells fan, going and playing for Pats, Was there a bit of trouble with the mates there?
Didn't go down too well. But they were all right too, because they were Shells fans as well, so they joined up as well. It was grand.
Very good, yeah.
And then, of course, the thing was, when you got to know all the fellas in Pats, you know, all the players in the first team.
Kind of becomes your club then, doesn't it?
In a way, yeah. And you said, oh, gee, and then didn't Shells get them in the cup? And I was down behind the goal hiding. I had red and something on me. It didn't matter, because Shells were red and white and Pats were red and white. And of course, in a way, I wanted Pats to win, because we knew all the lads, and then Shells won 4-0.
So there you go.
Here we go. Yeah.
So you kick off at Pats then, and then go. Do you go League of Ireland then?
No, I was in the first team squad a couple of times, but then it didn't work out for me, so I moved on.
What position were you?
A bit of everywhere, you know, midfield, full back. You know, one of these fellas that once you get in, you weren't when you went there. It was probably back in the day, wherever they could fit you in, and if you could do the job, they were probably looking at both ways. Well, you can do that, and if you ever did get called in, so it was a schooling thing from 16 to 19 to whatever it was, you know, then reserves. And then it wasn't happening for me, and I went around the corner. My brother played in the CIE Transport, they were around the corner, so I went around, I joined them, stayed a few years there. And then after that, Bluebell, a good friend of mine, John Cassidy, who was with me and Pats, he joined Bluebell, and then I went to Bluebell, and we won 2 leagues there. I think, did we win a Saturday thing in Transport? I think we won that. Got to the semi-final in the Intermediate Cup one year. Few finals, so nothing too spectacular now in the playing thing.
Most of the stand like down in Bluebell now, the Lentecino.
Oh, it's very tough those days. You had lots of ex-League of Ireland fellas back.
Oh, coming back. There's
they always drop in, don't they?
Stepping stone. They get the head together. We're going through a bad phase. Drop in. And
back up. That's the way it was. Every team in the Leinster Senior League in those days had ex-League of Ireland players. Belgrove in particular. You go down there, she could be playing. And that was a great little pitch. Everybody loved going down there. So they'd have 6-7 ex-League of Ireland fellas, and it was a real.
They were a very strong outfit, weren't they? Belgrove?
Oh, really strong, yeah. But that was great then. So after Bluebell, I was in the first team there, and that wasn't working out. And then Larry Corbally, he was the assistant manager in Drogheda, and he asked me to go to Drogheda, and I went to Drogheda. And then I got done at 26, 27. I was finished my crucial ligament. I was done.
Neat.
Back then, reconstruction surgery wouldn't really be around to sort of remover or.
Oh, I was out for about 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
And then I got back playing.
It's probably a 6-month rehabilitation now, isn't it?
Well, they diagnosed it wrong. They misdiagnosed in the beginning. They said it was just something, a bit of a tear of a cartilage. And then
you kept playing on it, probably, did you?
I'm playing Dundalk this day, and playing Drogheda and Dundalk, and I went to take a free kick, and then the next thing, my leg just buckled under me.
See, they're probably the worst ones, the unimposed ones, where there's no tackle and you're not torn. Where
I knew it was never right. There was always something, it was always niggling, and it never kind of repaired itself. So we were playing Dundalk, and I went to take the free, and the thing just buckled under me.
Were you under your own way?
And the physio come on to me, a fella called Gene McKenna, and I met him at the last Shells Drogheda match. He's 93. And he remembered every bit of it.
Still going.
Still going.
Brilliant.
That's 93.
That's the football thing, isn't it?
And he just, how are you doing? And what age are you, Gene? I'm 93 this year, Gerry. And he said, there's the spot where you.
Did he?
Yeah, just there you go.
I was sitting in the stand, and it was directly, you know, where it happened. Yeah. And Gene walks up the steps, and he talking about matches like he could remember things. 93, like gasp.
Yeah. And when you're up there, when you visit that ground, the way you have there, does it remind you of it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you get the flashback.
It's very young, isn't it? 26, 27, very young.
Yeah, like that's what I remember the surgeon coming around to me that night when I had the surgery done first, and that didn't go well. And then the second time, when I went to see the specialist, he said, look, you'll be in for 2 days or a week. What's the week about? Anyway, I'll never forget the pain when the surgeon came around that night. I thought my leg was amputated. I said, jeez. And he said to me, what age? At 27. Who are you playing with? Drogheda. And what's that? Drogheda reserves. What's that? That's pretty high. He said, sorry, that's over.
Jesus.
As blunt as you
would
like.
you fancy cycling or golf? And I said, not really. He said, unless you kind of really bash away, and you could be all right. So the first thing I did was I bought a racing bike. Then I joined, I was always in the gym, and I bought me weights to tie around my legs, and went off for 100 miles a week cycling to get it all right, and got back playing with Vianney a couple of years later, player manager of Vianney.
Where Vianney from?
Coolock.
Coolock.
Yeah.
So that
Johnny
was,
Boys, is it?
That was
Johnny
it,
Boys,
Johnny
yeah,
Boys.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
the start of it. That was the start of my kind of real. I'd done other teams. When I lived in Finglas, I worked in Cleves for a year or two, and we started a team there. And I was the manager of Cleves United.
So the management was all part
always there, always
yeah.
there. And I managed McKelvey under 15s, and we won a league when I was still playing with Pats. Hughie Atkinson, he was our protege. He went to Wolves.
Very good.
On your team?
He was from our team, yeah. He joined. Actually, he left us and went to Belleville. And then from Belleville he went to Wolves, but he started with all of us. His father was the chairman of McKelvey as well, Johnny Atkinson, yeah.
And Declan Gagan was there as well, was he? Or was that
Declan,
Steve Nealon?
Yeah, I had the under 12s in. Man, I think I took the under 12s. There's another fella there.
Steve was saying that you're his manager Nealon, yeah.
Yeah, Stephen, and he scored. Declan was good too. We won an under 12s and we got to the semi final of the. Oh jeez, no, how many years ago was that? That was a cup. Let's put it as a cup.
You put it down as a
we
won't go that far.
We got beaten anyway. But that was good. So I met a few of them afterwards. There was a few yeah, the Gagos, they were great.
Yeah.
They lived down on the road down there.
So you have a few wins now with Vienna boys, and you have a couple of cups and
we won.
leagues.
We won 4 amateur cups, 6 Matt O'Leary's, 3 Leinster juniors, and then I was the assistant with Don Fay. When we won back-to-back Oscar trainers, which was unheard of in the amateur league, because the amateur league was always the kind of the lesser of the AUL, and the lesser, like the AUL, you have to remember, had nearly something like 230 clubs at the time and all the best players. But when we won the Leinster Junior Cups, the amateur cup, we won a double the first year, amateur and Matt. That was great, like, it was super stuff.
And were you player coach as well?
Player manager the first 2 years,
So you bashed away, as the surgeon said, with the knee, and anyway.
I got back after 3 years,
good.
and then became player manager there. And then we won. I was playing the night we won the first match. The first trophy we won was the Matt O'Leary, and that went to penalties right around. The goalkeeper won it. I took the 10 penalty. We were behind, so I got a level at 9 all or whatever it was. Then their fella, I forget the fella's name, funny fella too, but he canted the ball. We never found the ball. It's probably gone down Richmond or down from Conda somewhere. We never got the ball back. And the mum said, "Jeez, those balls are 50 quid and you canted it."
Where was the final held?
Talca Park. And then our keeper, he come up, Decky Corbett, and he stuck the
For the winner, yeah.
For the winning one.
Great night, great 2 nights, I'd say. Then we had the final on Sunday, so we had to recover, and we played St Martin's.
Back then, you'd be able to do another what?
We drew with them on the first day, and then we beat them in the replay 2-1. So that was good. The Leinster Junior Cup finals, that was probably one of the big ones. The Leinster Junior Cup final. Our first win was against Ballymun. Alan Whelan, John Hand, Jocks are the great team.
Yeah.
So the first match was in Talca, huge crowd. And I think it was nil all it was, yeah, on a kind of a lovely sunny bumpy day, big crowd again. Ballymun brought a huge crowd, and very good.
Did, yeah.
So then the replay was on Good Friday, the following Friday, Good Friday, huge crowd. I think the gate was 1,300 quid, which was huge money back in the day. It was only 2 shillings or 3 shillings in, or whatever it was. So 1,300 quid we got in the gate. Great. We were goal up after 12 seconds. The quickest goal ever scored in a cup final. Georgie Crampton got it, who lived down down at Creemore there. He joined us from Talca Rovers. The East. You have to remember the East and the West. That was very important back in the day. We were always the East, but Georgie joined us, and his father was involved in Talca, and his sister was the secretary or the treasurer or something. And they wouldn't talk to Georgie for
jump ship.
He got the goal after 12 seconds, and so we were hanging on. Then we got the second one in a few minutes ago. Of course, the pubs weren't open then, so we couldn't go back to the booze.
Good Friday, yeah.
Good Friday, that's right.
So we went back to one of the lads' houses, Paul Garland's house. We had a right old session there. And in fairness,
drink, no me.
Oh, no.
Fish on a Friday, yeah.
This was after 12 o'clock, lads. We waited for that.
Technicality.
We had a decorated rosary first, and then we got into the real stuff. But in fairness, John and remember John and the lads from Ballymun, they went down to the A1 the next day, and I think they threw 50 quid or something behind the bar out of the gate for all us to have a drink, which was really, really nice. Yeah, great touch, And Alan Whelan, what a player, I signed him then for Vianney after that. He was something else. I think Aberdeen wanted to sign him. He tortured him in the Daily Mount in the old European Cup, Winners' Cup. Alan played for Bowles then, and he ran rings around something off Dundee or one of them anyway, and he was class act he was, you know.
Did he eventually go over? No.
No, he stayed in Dublin. He played with Bowes. Then he left Bowes. He went to Ballymun. Then I signed him for Vianney for the few years I was there. That was it. That was our first one. The second one we beat Kevin's in the next one, and Kevin's were really
So
big.
there's two joints you had to beat.
Well, apart from beating them in the finals, along the way you picked up all the best AUL teams.
Yeah.
You know, so the first match was in Dalymount, cracking crowd again, and we scored first, and then Packy O'Connor got a great equaliser from. We were getting the wall set up, and Packy, as cute as a fox, just didn't wait for the whistle. 1-1. Then one of our fellows was sent off, so we had to play the last 25 minutes with 10 men and then extra time. So we hung on. Then the replay was the following Sunday in the Amateur League, and we beat them 3-0. And they were in two finals. They had just lost the FAI Junior Cup final to Kinvara the previous Sunday. So they were on the crest of a wave with a double and ended up with nothing.
Right. They were probably the in team as well. Back then,
they were the in team. But we bet the best team of all at that time, Edinburgh, who had won everything. They
got a couple of Premier A's, didn't they?
Oh, they did everything. Anto Hyde, Ryan, Eddie Malone, all these fellas.
Was
great team.
Noel Murray's dad being playing? Did you know Decker? Was the Nolly Murray? No, Nolly Murray.
I know. Well, I had him a captain.
You had Nolly with the amateurs. Nolly's dad played for Edinburgh.
Did he?
I think Nolly's dad is called Deco. Is it Deco Murray? He would have been captain of Edinburgh, because I remember out in the AUL there was always a picture from like the Target from back then, from years ago, and Edinburgh won the Premier A, and it was a picture of Nolly's dad holding the cup, with Edinburgh.
But we beat them 4-1 the semi-final. Nobody gave us a prayer, because they were the top dogs. Beat them in home farm 4-1. Cracking match.
So that's not even like if 2-1 fluke. It was a 4-1 thump. Well, you wouldn't put it down.
4, it could have been 8.
Yeah, there you go.
Honestly, we got out.
The underdog story.
The underdog story, yeah. That was us, you see. We were called the Altar Boys League, such it didn't matter. We kept battering away. And then the third time we won it, that was kind of the hardest one of all, because there was a breakaway from, we were Vianney, obviously, and then Kilmore Rangers started up, and there was a good load of our fellas joined them. So it was like Vianney's first team versus Vianney's second team. Oh, we didn't want this match, like, Jesus.
So it's going to be a funny kicking match, isn't it?
This was going to be the biggest bragging rights around Coolock and Artane ever, like, you know. So anyway, the final, we won it 1-0. Now, we won it pretty handy, but it was one of them ones, and that's when I said, I'm out of here now.
That was it?
That was it.
Job done.
After the end, that season, that was me gone out of Vianney, yeah. So.
How old are you boy then?
Late 30s, I'd say. Yeah, 40 maybe, thereabouts. Kind of like, I'm so old now, it doesn't matter anyway.
What's the next step in manager? Well,
after that, then
you're probably going to the manager career at that stage, isn't it? Or do you go in as assistant?
No, what happened then was, let me try and get it'll be one or the other. So when I left there, did I go to Derry McKeely rang me, and he asked me, he was manager of Finn Harps. Oh, in the meantime, I had become the Junior International manager, and I got sacked after the first tour.
So from Vianney Boys?
Yeah, I was a manager of Vianney Boys, and then I became the Junior International manager.
How does that come about? Like, how do they approach you, or what way does it be? Were you working with the FAI at that time? No?
I hadn't a clue about junior football at this stage. So, and even the first one was, because we were becoming successful. Because you're doing well. So the first gig I went for an interview, and John McDermott, he was the secretary of the AUL. So I went into Parnell Square, and there was myself and a guy, Dave Mahidi. I don't know whether you ever heard of Dave. Dave was from Limerick, smashing guy. He's involved in treaty now, but Dave would have been big with Limerick at the time, big strength and conditioning in UL. He was miles ahead of his time. So Dave had all the qualifications, but of course I said the wrong thing that night. I said, well, coaches are different than managers, and John didn't like that. So before I got back to the amateur league, I didn't have the job. Let's put it that way. Dave got the job. He was there for whatever it was, and then he stayed a year or two, and then his time was up again or whatever it was. Anyway, I got the job when it was with Vianney, so I kind of hadn't a clue about it. Like when we went in, it was one match against Scotland in a year. So you picked 16.
That was it.
That was it back then. that's a kind of another story we get to know in a minute. But anyway, that it was one match a year, and sure, I didn't know, and so there was about the format then was, and I was with Vianney, and we had won everything. We'd Leinster Junior, this, that. So the format was the junior council used to sit in the room in the AUL, and you'd have about 6 people along with myself and the staff at the time. We didn't know picking the team, so you threw in your name on the back of a Woodbine box, and we picked him, and then you threw in your fella off the back of a fiver, and we got the team together.
Build it up together.
Well,
so who are you picking from then? Are you going for the best in the country at that level, like the
all
likes of
over.
the
So,
Eamons, Kevins, or are you going the
everybody?
country,
So
or?
well, what you're trying to do here is you're trying to keep everybody happy, but
Yeah.
because everybody's it was kind of a bit of a mismatch, you know. Anyway,
Obviously not as well organised back then as
but
it
this is
now.
what had to happen. So we played our first match in Scotland, and they beat us 2-0. Now when I seen the only man who told me the real story at the time was Mick Hyland. God be good. Well, you know, Mick is still alive. He said he arrived in on the Friday night. I sat down and had a cup of tea with him. Other than that, everybody else was talking, not dribbly. But Mick, who'd been around the block, he said, "The best of luck tomorrow, Gerry." He said, "Going to be very, very, very tough." He said, "You know, a lot of these fellas have all played they all play in the top leagues over here and when we got the programme, it was Hamilton, East Fife, all these fellas, and you getting big money." And I heard him with a couple of big fellas, but when we seen them, they were big, strong,
athletic,
all
people, yeah.
left full. I think spent 2 years at Celtic or something like that, and every one of them had played. Like Eamon Scott sent me a video one year. There was 34,000 people at the Junior Cup final in Hampden Park. A crowd called Pollock, and I forget the other one. But that it'd be like a country village. They all,
Yeah.
and they love their game. They are. So we got beaten 2-0. It wasn't the worst gig in the world. But
Do you get to pick your own coaches as well there? Or are they
well, I
picking
just
for
brought
you?
my own crew.
Yeah.
But then that was it. And now Bernard had moved on, but let's say this thing has to change. I said, because you're only allowed 13 players. I said,
13?
Yeah, we brought 16 with us. And I said, I was new to all this. I hadn't any semblance of what went on in this thing. So you were allowed 13 players. So I said to Bernard, you can't do this. You can't ask for players to do a little bit of training for the week or two or whatever it was. I said in a friendly international, it should be mandatory and compulsory that all the players get onto the park.
Yeah.
And the two teams agree.
Especially if it's one game a year.
That's all. I said you can't give people certificates. They need to play, and it's very unfair on me to have to look around to leave 4 lads out. I mean, it's not right, and I don't want to be in that situation. So anyway, we got going then, and then the quadrangular became the next thing, and the quadrangular was only for junior players, not intermediates.
Right, yeah.
So you could only have junior players for the quadrangular. So we got beaten in the final one year, and that was the end of it. So I was there for 2 years, and then the next thing I was gone, and Tommy Haughey came in, and that was it. So I was gone from it then, and that's when, this is how I got to, Dermot Keeley rang me when I left, and he said, "Will you come down and do it?" He was with Finn Harps. So I went down, I was helping Dermot with Finn Harps, and then he left that, and he went to, he got the job in Athlone. So I went with him. He said, "Will you come down and do it in Athlone?" Yeah, I said, "Fine." He rang me one Saturday, it was a scorching weekend, and I said, "Who are we playing?" He said, "We have a match against Tranmere Rovers tomorrow, will you come down?" I said, "Jeez, Dermot, we can't get out tomorrow. Small kids." "You'd be alright."
It's easy way in to say.
Anyway, of course, I ended up in Athlone, and we 12 players, and we beat Tranmere. John Aldridge was the player manager. Liam O'Brien was playing for them. Who else? They would only come up, they were right up, and we beat them 1-0. I don't know how we beat them. Tommy Ewell scored the goal, but it was gas. So I stayed with Dermot for a good while, and we got to 2 finals. And then in the meantime, Dermot was a real home farm man. Dermot got a phone call. There was no mobile phones in those days. I think we're coming back from Longford or something like that. I think we're in the Ashbourne house, and somebody got in touch from there. Anyway, the job in home farm was for Dermot.
So
And
Home
League of
Farm or
Ireland,
League of Ireland
yeah.
this
Premier
stage.
Division, yeah. So Dermot said, I'm going to take that, will you come? And in the meantime, the fellas from Athlone contacted me and asked me, would I take the job? And when I got home, there was no mobiles. I was living at home in McKelvey. There was a phone call, and they said there was a man on the phone for you called Jim Morley. Jim was from the junior league, and he said to me, the manager has resigned, and we'd like you to come back in and take the international job. So I had home firm at loan and the junior international job, all on the go. So I said to Jim, I need to think about this one. Like, I mean, there's good money in home farm, there was good money in at loan, and there was no money in the junior, only expenses and headaches. But I just said, do you know what? It was an unfinished job, and I'll go back to that.
How did you end up on the force phase? Did you just get relieved? Your 2 years was done, and you just stopped with them?
Well, that's what they said. Yeah, we're not going to renew your.
Yeah.
So what was a yearly contract, or was it two-game contract?
Yeah, 2 at that stage, because they introduced the quadrangular. That was the first time. Because I said to Bernard, this one match a year, this is nonsense. I mean.
There was no reason behind it. Sorry, there was a reason behind it. Like,
it's going on 100 years or something like it's there before.
No, I mean, the reason to let you go, was it say, listen, you weren't performing good enough, or was it just, listen, we're going to give someone else a go, or
something like that? I can't remember.
Well, if it's only 1 game a year, like how can
but
you
then the quadrangular came in, and so that was it. We didn't win. That was ourselves. There was only 3 teams, I think, in the whatever it was, and then we got the 4 teams. What year is this,
Gerry? You get the back in.
Oh Jesus, lads, come on! 80 something, I think.
Really?
Yeah, so 55, 80, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, so I took the job. I said I'll come back and I'll do it, but I said I'll do it on my terms this time, not yours. Met the key committee, and they said, well, kind of, what's your terms? Well, I said 1 game a year is no use, and we need to get to Europe. We need to start playing teams in Europe. Well, we don't have any connections. Well, I had a connection in Holland and Belgium. So I got them, and that was... But in the meantime, the quadrangular was still the thing to win. We'd never beaten Scotland, you see. And they were... In fairness, they were an arrogant share, but So the quadrangular came around. First of all, I'm going from one story to another, but I'm trying to... But anyway... So it was the first time we actually won the quadrangular, and the tournament was in Sligo. Ourselves, Isle of Man, Scotland, and the North. And we got Scotland. The draw was made, and we got Scotland in the first round, and the Isle of Man played the North. Showgrounds, big crowd down in the showgrounds. You know, murky old night in March or whatever it was. Of course, they went ahead, and I remember we were in it. They had a huge fella in the middle of the park, and then we'd Keith Brown, Danny Crowley, Barry Flynn, and Declan Considine, captain from Limerick. He was only 19 at the time, but Bruno and this fella off Scotland went for ball, and I think they nearly burst the ball between the two of them. Anyway, they were winning 1-0, coasting, arrogant, and then we equalised. I think it was Bruno got the equaliser, and Des Cummins, another famous man, got the winner for us. Des was away with Colchester when he was a young fella, you know. Now Des and him and I would be good buddies, but he wouldn't run to save his life, but could he score goals for fun? And he got a winner that night, and we beat them 2-1, and they weren't happy. So we're on the kind of ready to go, first time ever we've done this or won a match or beaten anybody. So the surprise packet of the 4 groups was the Isle of Man. But people used to forget, you see, they weren't all from the Isle of Man. These had fellas that were on the academies or YPSs in Manchester City, Everton. So that all moved to the Isle of Man and played. A small league, maybe 20 teams, two or three divisions, 20.
Yeah, but a lot of good players.
It's a short trip for them as well. Isn't it?
One of the fellas you had cost 800,000 quid. Rick Holden. He played against us in the final, and this fella had a left foot. I'm telling you, he could put it onto your sixpence for you. So he was playing against us in the final, but we beat him 2-0. So that was the monkey off the back.
Yeah, exactly.
We beat the Isle of Man, and we had a good old time, and we won it again. So we won back to backs. So from never beating Scotland, we did it here in Sligo, and then we went over there,
What's the coverage like in Ireland about that now?
It was good.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Was there obviously in the papers or
I
whatever?
got plenty of stick for not picking. You pick 20, you wouldn't. You pick the other 20.
Yeah. I'm sure that's ran through the whole your managerial
You
career
need,
on
you
that
need,
end.
you need them people to be saying that. If you didn't have them, sure, life wouldn't be funny.
Look,
You know.
you're always going to get it, aren't you? No matter
As
what.
I used to say, look, their team plays on paper, my team plays on the park, and that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And
What do you think now? The players you picked to suit your system. Do you think that there's players a little bit more talent but hadn't the work rate now? You'd probably go more for what suit your system, would you?
well, particularly that
Over
tournament,
talent.
you needed a few rough and ready fellas now
Yeah.
to win and mix it now. The nice tidy little fella on the ball and looking to pass it here and tread a kneel, they'd only get you so far. You needed the Brunos and a few of them to be in there, and Gary McCormick, like, in fairness, the next day we played, there was a funny one. We had a fella from Tipperary, Michael Grace, great centre forward, and
Who did he play for?
Michaels, and he was, we were in, so we got to, so you won your first match and we didn't play him, and he wasn't too happy. So let's say he wasn't asking me to go for a point with him afterwards. So we kept him for the big one, and the ball only came in. Well, he banjoed a goalie. Poor keeper's big 6'2" fella lying on the ground roaring, and Gray said, "Welcome to the game," and we won that on penalties. But he was that's the type of fella. It had to be something like that.
Yeah.
So then that was the junior thing was going on, and then I'm trying to think now. Did we start playing in Europe? Oh yeah, when we went to the Euros, first of all, we went to the Regions Cup. First of all, I was only allowed junior players, right? And then there was another spanner thrown in the works that you couldn't have fellas that were played 2 minutes in League of Ireland.
That's right.
So I was really hamstrung now. I mean,
And did it work out the same then? Because I know what you said there about the Scottish teams. They had a few people from ex-Celtic players, ex-Hamilton or whatever.
well, the quadrangle was different, you see, because that was between the four nations. This UEFA ran this one.
Yeah.
Right. So but it was obviously the same rule applied for England, Scotland, and whoever else was going to be involved in that tournament. Yeah.
To a degree, until
Two separate squads, more or less, then going over it.
Well, yeah, but then when we went first, we were just the juniors,
juniors.
and our first time we qualified was great. Our first gig was in Finland, a place called Joensuu, a lovely little university town, and we got over there, played the Finns. They a couple of decent players. There was one lad, I think he got capped for the Finnish senior team after that. But he was good.
I think Davy Kane. Did Davy Kane in that squad, was he?
Davey could have
They-
been.
yeah.
His force, what he got called into was.
And we went to Finland, and I think Davy said that a fella who we played against ended up being capped by the Finnish. Yeah, I think he said that. Yeah.
So we beat them. Then we had Lithuania. Don't ask me who the third one was. Was it Iceland? But we qualified anyway, and sure, we got a trophy and all out there. We brought the trophy back home on the plane, and all. Sure, we thought we were world beaters, and so the first final was in a place called Zlin, Czech Republic, up near, right up the very top, So we went out, thought like, we've arrived. First match, Bulgaria. Bulgaria had a couple of fellas that definitely went on and played senior, and they beat us 2-0. We're in trouble now, because if you lose your first one, you're in trouble. You're in bother. Next one was Bosnia, and Bosnians were like a street team, all very intricate, clever, know what day it is. They beat us 3-0, and then we got to the Czech Republic, and they murdered us 3-0. And in the 3 matches, we were lucky to get 0. It was that bad.
Are you noticing the difference of quality or the different style even of the Europeans rather than
this is a
soil
whole new ball game.
Yeah.
So your selection of players will have to change, and obviously to kind of keep up with these boys.
Well, we'd only juniors, and you couldn't have, like, for example, Danny Crowley, who played, I don't know, who did he play? There was another fella played 2 minutes with someone else, and Christian Miguelica, for example.
Sometimes Steve Costello done one as well, wasn't he?
He played 5 minutes at UCD.
For UCD, yeah.
He couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's why I never got picked for it as well.
Yeah.
And I never got picked either.
Must have been mine as well, was it?
But there was that was it, and it was, and I said, we need to do something here. We'll never do anything here. We'll just be the laughing stock every time.
Yeah, every time you played them.
So this was the time when we had to get.
And while you're playing these, are you kind of visual in this, saying something needs to change here? I need to get on this level.
Yeah,
on an international stage.
This episode is brought to you by EcoPro Power Flushing. If your heating system isn't working as efficiently as it used to, then it might be time that you get yourself an EcoPro Power Flush. EcoPro are one of the most trusted experts in power flushing, and also offer other services as well, such as boiler fitting, limescale removal and reverse osmosis. They'll rid your system of any sludge, rust or debris, and will have your home heating system working to its full capacity. For a warmer home, call EcoPro on 085 831 6372 or contact them via Instagram or Facebook at EcoPro_power flushing.
And in the meantime, I told you I knew a fella in Holland and a fella in Belgium. So we took the juniors away. First, this is when I went back and said, we'll do it on my terms.
Yeah.
And they gave me the money to travel with the players. So we went away on a Friday, was it? Went to Belgium. First match in Belgium. We won 4-0. Great. And then we were going down to Holland, and I got chatting to the Belgian manager, and he said, different ball game down now. You need to be oh Jesus. So we got down to Holland. Well, you want to see it, lovely little stadium, 3,500 people at the match, marquee, the whole lot. And when we got down there, like an area like say Finglas here, but all the parents, there was nearly 40 kids, 50 kids on the pitch being coached before the match, all in little corners by the parents and by the coaches, and all going through their routines. And then all these Dutch fellas arrived in, all over 6 foot.
Here we go.
We got beaten 3-0, but we didn't do too bad now. We could have been a goal or two up, but they were always going to win the match. They were just far superior.
Just a step ahead.
Yeah, and don't forget, like, we're going into huge pitches now. We're not the little match boxes we play on here. Like, I'm praying that the ball go out to touch, that we get a bit of a break, or somebody will build it into stand, it'll go missing, and we can.
You're basically playing on a professional.
It's like the FAI final when I went into
Aviva,
yeah.
Ruins
the game.
Ruins
the game, yeah.
And then should have had the players sent off field hours. It's just.
But these fellas were good. I think one of the fellas, we got them afterwards then. They beat us 3-0 anyway. And so I got slaughtered, the usual. We're tactically unaware, naive, da. So that's fair enough.
What group of lads have you got there, Gerry? Can you drop us a few names who you have in the squad?
I think Barry Flynn was with me, I think. Who else was with me? Jeez. Gerry Brady, I met him at a function. He was in the amateur league. There was Alan Boyle, and I think he was at me and Vianney. I'd have to look. I think Anto Wilkins was with me. He was at Kevin's. Was Bruno with me? I think Bruno was with me. Ollie Walsh from he was down from Evergreen in Kilkenny. See, in those, you could use in the quadrangular and in friendlies like that for juniors, you could use fellas that didn't play. That played League of Ireland. So a few of them around the place,
So see your scouting process. Do you get a little text or saying, say, there's a fella down here in Munster, or there's a fella down
text?
No, I don't know.
A million texts.
But no, say there's a player down here. How come and have a look at him, or would you just go get a?
Well, this is where it all changed.
Things,
when I came, so back in the day, they used to have a trial, and they'd bring all the lads from Munster up to Dublin and play, and I'd go there. And then the same would happen with Connacht, and you'd look at all the players. But sure, it was unfair on the players. You'd come up in a trial. So when I went back the second time, I said, I'm going to rearrange this. I'm now going to visit all the grounds or all the counties around the place. So I'll get down to a quarter-final of some cup they have. So that's what I did then. That's when the process started for me going to them.
That's better, because they're in the natural habitat. They're not have that, but natural surrounds and all. They've going to perform better instead of the pressure of being on trial.
Yeah, like they're all walking into a room
on a one-day basis.
Yeah.
They can have an off day.
Of course.
It happens. And you had other people promoting them in this. So it was much better that you went down, you seen them, as you said, in their own environment, make mistakes or playing well or whatever it was, and then I just had to make a call on it. And I got to every county and nearly every ground in the junior end of that time.
Very good.
So we were doing that, but then we learned the Dutch beat us 3-0, and we then played them the following October in Dalymount, and we battered them 1-0. It was great. That was one of the best matches ever. And Pat Keogh got the winner for us. Pat was with Dunamede Celtic, and Declan McGuinness was with Ards from the Amateur League. The 92nd minute, you know, when you just score and there's no time
To worry.
no. So then I kind of got the little bit of revenge. Sure, they were tactically unaware and naive.
Yeah. And who are you getting that from? You getting it from in the paper? Or is it hearsay? Or a bit
No, the paper, sure, you know. But sure, that's the way it was, you know.
Yeah, look, when you're at that level, at the international level, you're going to get it, aren't you, no matter what?
Yeah, you'd be disappointed if you didn't, you know. So.
See the progression of football. You're 18 years. Obviously, football kind of developed as you went on. You have to kind of change your kind of tactics,
absolutely,
or
because that's what happened then. Because then Peter Lennon was in Bernard Byrne moved on. Bernard moved out of the FAI, and then a guy called Fran Rooney came in. So I got chatting to Fran, because Fran used to manage the women's team, the international team. Good fella, good guy, Fran. And I said to him,
Came chief executive of the FAI, didn't he?
I said, we've no chance of this. And he did play a bit in the Leinster Senior League. Anyway, between the jigs and the reels and Peter Lennon, I can't say enough about the man, because he worked tirelessly with me to get all these fellas in. And
did you have Pete Lennon in with you?
No, Pete was managing Wayside, and he didn't want any involvement, just that we got that we got the process through, which was a fair process, to give all the lads in the Leinster Senior League or the Munster Senior League or the Ulster Senior League the opportunity to play for their country. And
because there was big talk back then, a lot of the country lads used to kind of, didn't they? They'd be like, the Dublin lads are getting a bit more favoured.
Yeah. So
there was big talk when
we got all that through, and that's really when it started. That's when we got going. Like, you know, no disrespect, but like there was a better quality. There was better players there than some of the lads in the junior end of it, and that's the way it was. And in my opinion, like, that's, so you just picked what you did, and then we kept hammering away, getting to finals. We got to, I think we finished up in top eights on 4 occasions, which was no mean achievement from not scoring a goal from the very first time. And some of these teams are cracking outfits, like, you know, I mean, they playing in 20-30 degrees of heat, and these fellas keep the ball for fun. Like, you give the ball to them, they won't give it back to you, like, you know. No, they were just, but it took us all that process to get all that together, and then we did all that, and then we were making good progress. We were lucky one day, the Belgians, for a bronze medal. They beat us 2-1 in a gig. And funny, now, the gas thing was, we were told that this was an amateur solution, but we've subsequently found out that a lot of these fellas were getting well nourished, nothing like any of our fellas would have been, and our fellas weren't. But they didn't hide the fact that they were playing with their club and they'd get 150, 200 quid a week at the time. And
they're supposed to be amateur footballers.
Supposed to be amateurs.
Yeah. They probably put it down to expenses, though.
You took the words out of my mouth. Like, apparently the Portuguese, when we lost the final to Braga in Portugal in 2011, I mean, in fairness, the Portuguese manager, he played 36 times for Portugal, I think it was. Big 6'4" fella, played centre back for him, forget his name. He was there, and all the players said they got a bonus for qualifying, and then they got a bonus for winning it, because they took the 10 days off work. They were, you know, really? And
from the Belgian Federation.
That was the Portuguese.
Portuguese, sorry.
Yeah, and then the Belgian fellas were, the lads found out, like, they were talking to the Belgian fellas. They came down with their bronze medals, and they were delighted. We were going home with nothing. We missed it by a goal, and they were all saying, "Oh, well, we this is," but we get paid by our clubs.
So you obviously finishing fourth there. If you had the 3 or 4 lads that were played League One, you probably would have pushed on for into the final.
Some of the fellas that we couldn't pick, like Roy Keane's brother, he played 5 minutes with Cove. Couldn't have him. You couldn't have other fellas.
That's depriving them from it as well. It's not even like taking new players away from you. It's taking the chance to play for the country away from them.
That's the way it was. That was the UEFA rule.
But it looks like it wasn't totally checked, in fairness.
No. But they could say, you know, well, if it was a fellow with Real Madrid as an amateur and he just came on with the first team for 2 minutes, well, then he's classed. He should be out as well. Anyway, look, it's all kind of by the by now. We got to the final in 2011, and we were unlucky to lose to the Portuguese, and then in 2015 we won it here, which was it was great. That was
think everyone that was a part of that, the Canes and everything else that we've had on, says that was probably the favourite memory.
Well, I think it was Ross and Jamesy.
Yeah.
Ross Carrick and James Lee we had, and they said that was their favourite memory in football, and Davy Lacey.
Yeah.
2015 Regions Cup, like, he's had a really strong squad then. It was probably the best I've probably seen anyway in my time.
Lacey got a great goal that day.
Yeah,
I mean,
he told us about the fitness test you gave him before it.
It wasn't a fitness test. It was just
a few cones in a car park.
Yeah.
And it was the first time we had a team meeting that night, the night before. And did I pick the team the night before? I can't remember anyway. So we'd always have a debriefer then the next meeting be the next morning, just to tidy up, go through all the set pieces again, up on the screen, dun. Got it all done. I'm sitting back around, I'm having a bit of a snooze now, because you need
your sleep in other places. Yeah,
you'd be dead. Honest to God, like it's up in the morning and it's go all day. So the next thing. And if it was going to be anybody, it'd be Lacey. You know? What's wrong with you? I don't think I feel. I don't think I. What's wrong with you? This old ankle that you. What's wrong with you? I don't think I can make what. Right, doctor didn't even get the. I got doctor. Get a car quick round the corner. Up to, I don't know who played there, Peamount or somebody. Got him out, threw down a half dozen cones. Go here, threw him a ball, bump, you're playing.
Yeah, you thought you had a choice in the matter.
Yeah, you two choices, you're in or you're in.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, he gets the winner 20 minutes into it or something. What a goal. When you look back on it, the ball was played to him. He actually set it up. And if you talk about movement and all that, and the fella that knows how to sniff a goal, he picked it up just inside our half, dropped it off, and it was him that played the ball out to Howie. Then Howie did a little bit of a jinky down, did a reverse pass to James Lee, who'd made a run out, and Lacey was still making his way all the way to the goal, just watching where it was all happening. Ended up about 8 yards out and buried it with a header.
He had that knack.
Great goal.
That's just centre forward should do. Pop the ball off, go for goal, play in between the box. Don't you centre forwards to be out in the wing, trying to chase balls down now?
Yeah, well, it's different styles, isn't it? Different players.
I always used to say to them, we don't want Jules chasing full-backs. We'd have it in such a way they only looked after the two centre-backs.
Yes,
don't be worried about full-backs.
Yeah.
You know, when it's there, we'll press, we'll pivot, we'll roll, bump. Centre-backs, that's all you do. Goes to the full-backs, when you drop in, make it 5, cover off, and they knew we knew that, because when we were training them, we'd play matches and we'd stop it, and then ball is there where it should.
Yeah,
anyway, it's completely different, isn't it? The international level.
We talked now. You said that you have meticulous in your formation. You had that drilled, and then your set pieces as well. Everyone had to know where to be and what to be doing, because you know yourself. You're playing against these teams that don't give the ball away too often. These set pieces and these things, they matter, because they will get you the goals, and they could be the important goals.
Well, our first match was against the Turks, and the first goal was a penalty. The second goal was a header from a corner. The next one we played, the Czechs, that was a corner.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so
and then the next one was Bosnia, and Dean Gibbons got a goal from a corner. And then there's 3 goals out of 4 matches.
And if you're missing one chain of the link there, it breaks down.
And everybody knew their role and their responsibility. You're the blocker. Make sure you block them. You do that. You're going to do the near post. We had little signals, what was what and who was what, and that was it, you know.
And it was a short amount of time to kind of work on them things as well. It has to be well drilled into them.
Very regimental. Yeah.
The good thing was when we qualified, before we won the final in Tala, we went to Hungary. And it was a good Hungarian team. There was Hungary, Lithuania and Israel. And dangerous enough group, you know. So we had Hungary first of all, 11 o'clock match on a whatever morning it was, about 25 degrees. Anyway, we bashed them 4-1. It was great, you know. And once you win your first and you have a couple of goals, you have a little bit of a trapdoor then, so not so bad. Now, I probably over the years would have made only 2 or 3 changes. We'd always change the goalkeeper to make sure. primary objective after preaching the gospel to the lads in Scotland 20 years prior to that, I always wanted everybody in the park. They all had to feel part of it, whether that was for a half an hour or a full game. They were all going to get a run. No team of mine ever come back that they never got a go, and that was really important to me, that they're good enough to be picked, they're good enough to be on. Whether I feel it's for 20 minutes or 2 hours, well, that's my call. But they were always on the park.
Because you're bringing, like, how many are you bringing away there?
18.
You're bringing 18. You're obviously bringing it, and if you have a starting 11 and probably your best 11, just let's say, you obviously have to trust the rest as well to be able to come in and not weaken the team either way. So that's why you're going to bring that 18 anyway. So somebody's on par with somebody else who's going to come out of the team.
They're all in the session there, and his structure that he does in the training sessions and everything else. So they all know their job.
Yeah, so it has to be.
That's kind of a good thing as well. Where if you have one kind of flying solo.
See, on the outside of it, like I was probably looking on it, and other people that wouldn't have known about all this, what you probably had to go through to get them to where they were, and the whole regimental thing, and the discipline they'd have to have on your formation, and what Nelson said there, on your set pieces and all, like, where on the outside you're kind of like, he should be in there, or I should be in there. I wasn't like that, and now it's great to have an insight, and it's probably great now for more people to listen to this podcast now and hear it from you. And this is the way
I said, we know we listen to this, you're done. You'll be closed down after this.
You'll be surprised.
But when we were playing home, just going back to, you were talking about that, like you brought your 18, but like the lads would have known. So the first match, let's say we did all right, I'll come to another one, but we were sitting down then for the next one. We'll change the goalkeeper because he needs to get in and he's good. There's nothing between those two. There never was. We're always very good, Adrian and Brendan. So the next match was Lithuania, and did they draw with Israel 1-1 or something like that? They weren't bad. So I said to the lads, I'm going to do something now that I was kind of thinking this was definitely going to be my kind of last shot at it anyway.
Last go. How many years were you in there for?
18. It was too long. Jesus, if we could have had the players that we had that I could have picked from, we'd have probably done it in 10 and could have got out 10.
So you were holding off for the win, were you?
No idea what I was hoping for. Anyway, so the night before the match, I said, pick the team now, or the day if it was, and I made all the changes. 7 changes. Did
you know you were going to pick that starting 11? Was that always in your mind, or could it have been either or?
But I changed 7 of them.
Right.
The next day.
The starting 11 you changed?
Yeah, changed 7 of them.
Tell us who it was.
They all thought I was gone mad. They come out the room. He's gone mad. There's something. Noel Doolin and John McNamara, the 2 kit men. Eamon Scott, we gave him the team. And he said, no, that's it.
He changed it.
They all. So I said, see us, that's it, we're gone. That's the team. And I said, well, grand, we're all right. So we scored 1-0, lovely. Plan is going well. Next of all, they equalised, 1-0. Now we're pounding the goal, and they break and nearly make it 2-1, you see. 20 minutes ago, it's 1-0. I say, I won't even have to think about whether I'm going to be around. I'll be done. They won't even let me into the airport if we're beaten here. And we made 3 changes. Jimmy Carr come on, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. We won 5-1, so all happy. And everybody was delighted then, because everybody really felt part of it then. They'd all contributed.
They bought in.
And we barring a miracle, we were into the finals back home, and then the finals were for here in Dublin.
So it was an important one.
Really, really, really important. Now, before we go any further, in case I forget it, I'm here yapping to you, but there was one man, and let me tell you, without him, I was nothing, and still would be nothing. That was my right-hand man, Jimmy Fagan. He was with me from minute 1 to minute out, and like, we had some fierce rows. Like,
what was his reaction there to the 7 changes?
He's mad. There's something gone wrong. He's gone. It's not the fella I know. He just said, "Oh no." But the point was, and Gerry Davis was there, and Robbie Fay. That was the group. They said what, and it wasn't just me. It took an hour to decide it. Like, before we got that, but we got it over the line, and that was the way it was. But they would always, in public, we were 100% behind each other. Privately, skin and hair.
Yeah.
Because when Jimmy came at me first, he said to me, and let me tell you, his knowledge of the game, and he could do things with the players that we used to call the kit room the confession box. That's when all the lads had opened up, like, you know, great, like John McNamara and Noel doing like the two priests in there taking confession to keep yapping away.
Sit and listen.
But Jimmy was the fella who could go down, put his arm around them, sit there, yap to them, and find out, and then if needs be, would tell them in no uncertain terms, that's the way it is, and if you don't like it, he did all that.
Would that not be in you as a manager, Gerry, or was it just great that you had a right hand man to do that for
You
you?
didn't need to do it,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, they can't be your mates. It's the way it is.
Yeah, I think that's a right way to look at it as a manager.
That's the difference between the kind of manager and the coach. Then the manager,
don't be a mate, be a manager.
Yeah, the manager kind of does the dirty work, and not the dirty work. The manager does the this is my team sent out, and the coach kind of says, listen, keep plugging away there and you can get yourself in there and all. So he kind of softens the blow a little bit more.
That's what it was. He did all that. He was, and his knowledge of the game, he played with, you know, when he was a youngster, he played with Shells, and then he played with Hammond Lane, and then he managed drums, and he did all the stuff. Like, and we grew up, you know, I knew him years and years and years, but he was, and to have somebody that'll have your back all the time, that says a lot. Like, you even look at now, like some of the successful teams in all kinds of football, the fella they have with them is a fella who knows how to do it, and he just knew he'd spot things before I'd even smell them and have it done.
Very good.
You know, like,
you need people like that.
Ideal.
Oh, he was, without him, as I said, when, you know, the number two, when he passes away and he goes up to heaven, the lad upstairs better move over, because he'll be the best number. He's the best right hand man you ever had. Like, you know, he was superb. You know. See,
when you're saying that there's skin and hair and all that, if you have to, like, if you surround yourself with yes men, you don't know where you're going to go wrong. You just see, I think, oh, that's all right, but then boys are pulling you and saying, listen, have a little think about that. Like,
well, the first thing I said to Jimmy, sure, look, if the two of us always agree, one of us is redundant. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
true. Yeah,
and that's the way you need people to test you, to challenge not to be in the right way. You know, wasn't always right, and him and Gerry Davis, they would come back and say, "Are you sure about that?" And sit down and let's
talk about it.
Let's think about that one. And it was always a kind of a process, like, you know. It wasn't, that's it and we're done. Yeah, no, we had to do what we had to do. But that was it, you know. That was that one, you know. So they were, when we won it, then that was I was delighted, you know. Was that the end then? Was that when you finished after you won it, or did you continue? Yeah, and I had kind of said, the funny thing is, I checked with a couple of people. I said, we won that in July, and then I remember it was October, November, and the phone rang one day, and this will tell you, because I'd made a few phone calls, people saying, "Are you going again?" I said, and Jimmy was the first man. Jimmy said, "No, I'm done." And once he was done, I was done. There was no. So I rang a couple of people just to be respectful and say, "What do you think?" And because they were people that supported me when I was getting slaughtered every Tuesday in the paper, they'd be the first ones to pick up the phone. Listen, you know, and what do you think? Well, look, you've won it. What's the point? Just. And I remember I was driving back from the country one day, and the phone rang. It was one of the lads from the FAI said, "Well, what you got the draw now? Slovakia, so." I swear to God, lads, I didn't even know the draw was on. Yeah. So I knew that's a call in there, isn't it? My mind was done then, you know. See, over the 18 years that you were in, does ever come a time where you said, "Listen, I'll be getting the sack here, or I think things aren't going my way. There could be time for me to step away," or were you always going to say, "Listen, this is what we're building towards. Well, that's looking good." That's where I had a good relationship with the key committee, and they were 100% supportive of me. 100%. Anything I wanted. I mean, we got the players to fly up from Cork and Kerry anybody that was in the squad, put them up overnight. I wasn't going to take any second rate for the players. They were the most important thing. It's all very fine for lads in Dublin, just walked around the corner and you know, training was at whatever lads time. Coming up from Cork. Lads coming from Cork, rearranged a day, so we got them flights up, collected at the airport, brought in. We'd have breakfast ready for them when they come in, all the players, and then a meal for them when they left, and that's
well looked after.
without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah.
To be honest with you, we listening to you here now and getting the insight of it. It sounds like you changed amateur football or an international level to from starting off the way you were to getting you to.
And I'm not going to be big headed. I'm saying I did.
No, brilliant. It's actually lovely to hear that now, to see it from an outside perspective where you probably I'd have never looked at it in that way and then we spoke. I think it might have been Davy Lacey, and he said like nobody remembers like back previous years and years before that when we're getting beaten and Gerry's trying to get his structure and is being so regimental with his formation. Like he basically says like it was probably nearly 10 years building to get
towards
to that.
Yeah.
And I meet some of the players afterwards, even the likes of Ross and that, and they said, and it was personal. You know, we wanted to be number one in Europe, and to get to number one in Europe, it's not easy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And sometimes you have to stand on toes and make hard and fast and cold decisions, and you're not Mr. Popular, like, you know, you won't be getting too many Christmas cards, but like the deal is the deal, and we became number one, and that was it, and that's all we ever wanted, to get a small country like ours. Like, we were competing at the levels where these fellas were really, really good players. Like, I mean, there was no mugs here, like, you know, they were all the Spanish crew we played from Bilbao once. Jeez, they were shoving the ball around, and French team another time, and I mean these were all decent players.
Top level.
Like,
The lads that kind of you had, they were probably listen to these groups playing street football more or less, fucking get on the volley or whatever. These lads are probably playing futsal or something, you know. That's the difference.
Even apart from futsal or football, these have a culture. Like, don't forget, we're dealing with Gaelic and hurling and rugby. You know, we didn't have to.
Nothing else is for them but soccer.
Yeah, like it's soccer, and then if it's not soccer, it's more soccer. And that's the pitches, the facilities. I remember, like, when I got a friendly against the team that Bilbao, we played them over there, and they brought us into a second division ground, and we went in, and my jeez, this is something else. So your man brought me around, really nice, I forget his name, a Spanish fella. So it was a 9,000 seater stadium, and then in the space of 18 months they converted it to an 18,000 seater stadium. Just take you 5 years here to get planning permission for seat, and they had it done in
and that was just for their amateur and internationals. That was
the second division team in this Spanish place. So he said to me, come on in here and have a look at the dressing room. The dressing room was, I'd say, the size of Lidl, with sauna, jacuzzi, everything in it. And that was the away one. So then the gym ran the length of the stand, all the bikes and everything. And then he said, now we'll come to the bedrooms.
Rooms, a little mini hotel.
When the players, when they do pre-season, they train 3 times a day. So the morning, the noon, and then the evening, and then we have the 2 chefs where they leave their menu for the next day. So that's all ready for them. And 4 bunk beds in the room and a TV up on the wall, so they bed down for the 2 hours rather than going here, there, and everywhere. So.
Some setup.
Yeah, we had it's in the AUL, like, you know.
And you're worrying about a couple of lads of getting them up from Cork.
You could get the shows in the AUL being born the back all day, then more than else.
That was all the junior stuff, and then Brian Kerr was a very good friend of mine, and so I was with Brian in 1998. So all these
you were
things,
part of
that was great when we won the youth European Championships. Yeah, it was great. The penalty shootout again.
Damien Duff.
No, Duffer wasn't there. No. He was injured. I was a bit of everything with Brian. There was only 6 of us as staff, like, you know. Yeah. So I did the goalkeeping coaching, I did the gear, and did the stats. I never seen our team until the final. So we'd go off. Brian say, so we had Croatia, Cyprus, and England in our group, and it was gas, like, you know. Their chef was a big heavy fella. So Robbie, there was your man that played with Smith fella that was with Everton, and was there a Ball that played left full for Everton, and anyway, there's a few of them there, but we had all our stuff on the English, so we had chips and all that. I was milling the chips, and Robbie be swapping spuds with someone else, and there'd be chips going this way and getting a few boiled potatoes the other way, and it was gas, like, you know. And But we were out on the second last day. You know, we needed a big favour from the Croatians because England beat us, and put out Niall O'Reilly, God, because we're all sitting around the pool. So Noel said, "Look, we'll have a sing song, and
We
we'll
looked at Alcatraz, didn't he? No.
and we'll have 2 drinks."
Gent, wasn't he?
And of course, the thing went around. The Irish were all drunk, you know, but it was a well structured, well behaved. Everybody sang a song,
Yeah.
and if you didn't sing, you told the story.
Yeah.
And we were all around the pool, all down and out. And then the next thing is, we're ready to go the next day. We have to beat. I wasn't there when I went off to see Portugal and Germany or something like that in the semi. What a match that was! And then we beat the Cypriots, I think it was, and unknown to us, the Croats beat the English, and we were into the final. Then we had to sing song.
Then it was the drunken Irish.
Then it was and Howard Wilkinson was the manager, and he
Was he? Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
he just couldn't hack it at all, like, you know, just because they were ready to go when we went down. So we were staying in Ioannappa. I think the final was in Limassol, so we got the bus down, and when we went in, your woman at reception said, "Oh, England." She thought we were the English. They thought because England had booked all the rooms.
I had the already, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I got Howard Wilkinson's room because I need to be doing all the writing. Like, don't forget, lads, there was no laptops in those days. This was all written on the back of a,
paper.
you know, like something you take to the chemist and get a bottle of it, like, you know, one of them things.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
My shorthand scribbles and Brian trying to read it. Like, what's that there? Jesus, how can you make that out?
Great for experience on your end.
Well,
dipping
he'd
in
say
the
to
Brian
me, so
for
when you
yeah.
get to the ground, I'd have to be at the ground the same time as the opposition. So I'd have to get down to the tunnel because we didn't have a big team. We'd only 3 or 4 big fellas. So he'd say, get the numbers and who's big. So I'd have to stand there, grab number 8, big, number 12, and we'd have all that. And I'd be writing this down, and you have to have 3 pens in case the pen ran out.
Yeah, it was that much.
That was that one then, you know. So that was good with him. But that was a great experience for me too, to see how things operated, like, you know. That was because I brought all that back. I brought all that back into our stuff as well. Anything we did, like one of the things that used to annoy you madly was, which Brian and Noel introduced us. So you'd be weighing a thing, and you tell them train at this, breakfast that, and you'd be only doing 5 minutes. What time's the breakfast?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What time's the? So what we used to do then was we used to get a big sheet, and everybody used to go to the kit room. That's where all the confessions were heard. That was
So everyone would find their way at some stage.
and we
there.
put down the big list there. So breakfast call 8:45, breakfast 9:00, meeting reception 10:25, depart 10:30, with or without you. So if you weren't on the bus,
You're gone.
They're gone.
and you wouldn't be in the team the next day. So everybody was there, and then pre-match meal, dinner, rubs. We'd set off rubs for the physio because you didn't want people calling up to him every 5 minutes. He needed his time as well, so did the doctor. So you'd have all that rubs from 3 to 4, and they'd all arrange who was going to do the. I'll be on a 15, yeah, strappings and all that. So that was all there. So that was grand. Nobody kept annoying me, asking me these stupid questions every 2 minutes. The same answer, like, you know, what time is dinner at? Well, it's probably 9 in the morning if you work it out. Anyway, all that kind of stuff. That was that. And then Brian was very good to me. Then he gave me the job with the under-20s to manage the under-20s in the World Cup in 2003. That was
Another great experience.
Oh, Jesus, we were so unlucky that time.
Who have you got in your squad there? Anyone?
Kevin Doyle was there, Glenn Whelan, Stephen Kelly, Wayne Henderson,
they all stepped up.
Stephen Elliott, Willow Flood. They were all there.
All Premier League players there.
All-
got a game Premier League.
Keith Fahey came in, Paddy McCarthy, Jonathan Daly with Pats now. He was there, centre forward. And we went out, like, we were kind of, the thing was to happen in March, and then there was a war in Iran and Iraq, and that it was put back down till November. So we couldn't get any matches then. We got a match here. My first match was against the Czech Republic in Dalymount. Chris Hewton was there with Brian, and the Czechs had beaten us. They were a cracking team, but we beat them 6-1. So I'm cock of the walk, like, you know, pinned up the wall with all the journals, you know.
The lights were on.
6-1, it was great, you know. And then we got going, we played again, and then we went out there. Our group was Mexico, Ivory Coast. A few of them fellas went to Arsenal after that. And Saudi Arabia. First match, Saudi Arabia, I think 15,000 at it. Stephen Ellie got the 2 goals. We won 2-1. Next match was the Ivory Coast, and we drew 2-2. So, and they had some cracking players. Next match was Mexico, and they were one of the favourites, and we beat them 3-0, and we won the group. First time ever that anybody had won the group. We might have got out of a group, but it was the first time we'd ever won a group. And then the next match, we were hoping it should have went our way, but fucking England drew it. I don't know who they drew it, but we ended up playing Colombia. But if England had been beaten or done something, we were going to play UAE, and Roy Hodgson was the manager of UAE. But we'd have had a fair old chance. So we got Colombia anyway, and night time, another huge crowd at the match over there, like, you know, and good team. 7 of them went on to play for the senior team after that, and the manager went and he managed the senior team in Colombia. Anyway, we're 1-0 down, 2-0 down. We're getting a bit of a chase, but we're working our way back into it. About 10 minutes ago, he takes off the 2 centre forwards. He thought the game was over, like, you know. So the next thing, we got a free kick. I think it was Paddy McCarthy, 2-1. 3 minutes ago, another one, 2-2. And now they are in.
Yeah, the 2 centre forwards are gone.
Your man is in. They don't know what to do, and it's just gone into extra time, first minute of injury time, and ball over the top. Kevin's through. I don't know whether he wanted to lob it, go round him, or shoot, and I think he got mixed up between the 3 of them and went just wide. Extra time, and here we go. And right on half time, Stephen Capper went down. He got injured, so they brought on the old. You remember that trolley thing you had to? They drove you off.
Stretcher, yeah.
They drove him off. Jeez, they scored from the corner. Game over.
Golden goal.
3-2. I was hoping we'd have got them to penalties. We'd have, and then we might have got the Spaniards with Iniesta and Torres. They were in that group. Your man Tevez was Argentina, so we had them coming along the line.
Who won it eventually?
Brazil won it.
Brazil won it.
I think they beat Spain in the final. Yeah,
right.
It was 2003.
Some teams there.
Yeah,
some players.
Great experience.
We were unlucky. You know, we were really, really, really unlucky.
So after the World Cup, then did you step away from the 20s, or how did it go?
Stepped away from the 20s, come back in that was 2003. Come back in, and that's when the we used to play Holland, and we used to beat them handy now. So they decided they were going to bring in their under 23s, and I was back in, and we got a friendly against the Dutch under 23s over in Amsterdam, I think it was, somewhere over at Holland anyway. It was the first time with the intermediates. Davy Conroy was in goal from Ballymun with us, and so we had a good mix of all the juniors and intermediates.
Great, so that's the first time you got them together.
Great crowd in Holland, and
was that a bit of a relief for you at times when you could say, you know, I'm going to get the best of the intermediate, the best of the juniors here, and that's when you have your best.
And it was their first time away, their first time to travel and see all the crack and come into the beat them 1-0. Oh. Davy Conroy made a double save that night. You'll never see the likes of it in your life. Free kick.
He was a top keeper, wasn't he?
He was top keeper. Great fella too. And
good lad.
That was a great win.
Still playing. I think he plays with Ballymun 35s now, doesn't he? Yeah.
That was it. That was a great win, and that was the start of it then, and the rest is history, lads.
Don't let car trouble slow you down. Turn to motor experts at O'Connor's Cars for fast and reliable service that gets you back on the road in no time. We all know the frustration of unexpected breakdowns. That's why their team of skilled mechanics are here to fix any issue, big or small, with precision and care. From engine tune-ups to brake repairs, transmission fixes to diagnostics, they do it all. For reliable motor vehicle repairs, call O'Connor's Cars on 01 834 0938 or contact them via Instagram or Facebook at O'Connor's Cars.
There's always a question, there's always debate when we're having a podcast with James Lee and whatever else. Back when, around 2006, was it 2005, what was the better, was it AOL better than Lensino, or was Lensino? You probably have a better view of that then.
There wasn't a whole pile between them, honestly.
Obviously, Lensino lads say they were better than AOL lads say they were the better league, like so.
I'll kind of just sit
on
in
the
middle.
fence. Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to be our answer.
And you know what they say, if you get sit in the middle of the road, you get run over from both sides. So that's what's going to happen here now.
Well, look, Gerry, we know you're a bit tight for time, but we'll try and get. We usually ask the guests if a few questions, but we'll try and get this one. Probably just do one question.
No, you're going.
We'll do it if you can try and give us
an honest answer.
Yeah,
not a political one.
We'll try and get. Would we just try and get the best 11, or would you want to go with questions?
Oh,
lads, can you give us a best 11?
I couldn't do that because
we get the questions out and then leave the best 11. Yeah?
I can't do the best 11. Do you know why?
You've had about 600 players.
It's so unfair. Like fellas that got one cap, they were entitled to it and deserved it. The fellas that got 50 caps deserved it and was entitled to it. It's not just about. What you have to remember is a lot of fellas were giving up, like the likes of Ken Howie and Brendan O'Connell, up and down from Cork every
few weeks or few months.
Jesus, I mean, I used to say to lads in Dublin, how would you fancy going down to Cork now every weekend?
Delighted to get away from the missus, I'd say. Yeah,
I'm not sure. Well, there's a funny one because when we were in Dublin, it was kind of good, and so after we beat Bosnia, well, we were home in Holes. We knew on the Wednesday. Our first match was on Friday, and on the Sunday, and after the Sunday, we knew we were in the final. We couldn't be caught, so I had a whole week of. And the next match was against the Bosnians on the Wednesday, so we let the lads go home, and they were delighted. So don't to see us until whatever time it was. Sure, I came back a day early, whatever it was, and they were all back. Oh, she wanted me to go shopping. She wanted the house hoover on. I'm not going. I'm staying here. It's great.
You probably got the blame for it as well. Jenny wants us back early, yeah.
Oh, don't you know they told lies, the buggers?
Definitely.
So we're going to go into our questions, Gerry, alright? So, you say any regrets in playing or managing wise or anything like that?
If I had it all to do again, I wouldn't manage.
Seriously?
I'd play as long as I could. I loved playing, and
so you thought you couldn't have went as a player manager with Vianney, you couldn't have stepped in it way too early because it changed the role, changed the outlook.
I think and the fact that when I got injured with Drogheda, I was certainly on going to make the first team, and that's the regret that I didn't get to play League of Ireland. I would have loved to. I'd have loved to play League of Ireland. So that was one regret. And management, it was tough going. It was hard, tough, but it was, as the fella said.
Do you miss it, Todd? Sorry.
No, don't miss it, and would never do it again.
Right.
Never, ever, ever.
Have you ever been tried to be enticed back into it by any clubs? Have
couple of clubs, yeah, and they were very nice, and I just said no, it's not for me now. I'm happy out doing what I'm doing. I just want free time to do what I want to do, and that's grand. And I love going to matches. I'm just happy watching matches now. And
yeah, you said you're more in a fan of the League of Ireland now. You wouldn't really go too much to.
If you gave me two tickets tomorrow for United and Chelsea and Pats and Shells, I'm at Pats and Shells.
Who just sports, Pats or Shells?
Shells.
You go Shells.
Shells first, Pats second. Yeah. Brian Kerr won't be too happy with me. Oh, that gang over there.
Yeah. Right, Gerry, you probably won't answer this one but look, the questions are the questions. The best player you either played with or managed.
Oh God, how do you answer that?
If you can give us
both.
both.
Player, up to yourself.
There was, oh God, there was so many of them. Like, I mean, when you think of it, like the two of the best centre backs, and I got stick for picking them, were Brino and James Walsh, and the testament to that was at the end of tournaments, for example, UEFA used to pick a team, and those two were picked in it.
Yeah, no, all the time.
Yeah, they were picked in a UEFA team, so that probably speaks
for itself.
Yeah, that speaks for itself. And you talk about, just going back on that, like about going around the country. Like, I remember going to Tipperary, and it doesn't matter. Somebody said to me one day, "Sure, what are you going down there for? There's nothing down there." But I capped 22 players from Tipperary. And every one of them were, I mean, Kelvin Flanagan was one of the first ones. He went on to play for Cork City in he won a cup with them, an FAI Cup. He played in Europe against Bayern Munich and did really, really well. And then when we introduced the bleep test, Kelvin was the one to win the bleep test, it was tough going at the time, running for 18 minutes non-stop against that bleep, and he was still running, and we found fellas like that, you know what I mean, that was really, really good now,
Did you go with the best manager? So you played under or?
Brian Kerr's.
Yeah.
I didn't play under him.
No,
but
no,
I
but
mean,
yeah,
but
but yeah,
I
the best
mean,
manager
yeah,
that-
you were-
yeah, same.
I seen him, and I seen him in action along with Noel O'Reilly, and it was just.
He's good at the funny quips on the telly. He was like that in the dressing room, was he?
Well, the best one I had was when we were in Cyprus. You see, so when I was in Cyprus with him, and I didn't see our team playing, I had to go off and watch the opposition. You see, so I'd go off and watch them. But when we got to the final, that was, Darren Loney. It was his first gig with away with RTE, so I became known as the kind of a spy for the Irish team out there. So they did a kind of a thing with me on Morning Ireland or something like that. So I was giving them all the heads up and all that. So the day before the final, there was an interview with Brian and then the German manager, because we were playing Germany in the final. I forget the manager's name off. Brian, who was the German manager? Anyway, the interview with the German fella first of all. And so he played 53 times for Germany. He won a European Cup. He won a this. He won that and that. So he was the belle of the ball. So the next thing up was Brian. I was sitting with Brian along with whatever it was, because he was asking me about fellas they had, and I kind of said they have your man. So your man, I forget what journals it was. They said, well, Brian, the German fella, whatever his name was, he's after playing 53 times for Germany, and he's after winning this cup, and he's after winning that cup, and he's after winning this, he's after winning that. And Brian says, yeah, but he never won an amateur cup for the VEC.
Straight away.
That was the end of that.
Very good, yeah. Very good. Your best club?
Oh God, had to be Vianney. That was it. That's where it kind of all started there.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you would have said that, yeah.
Yeah, that was we had great times there, because when I went in, sure, I said to them after the first night, about 8 fellas training, I hear this isn't for me. Let me out of here, and I had more things to be doing with my time.
How long did you spend there?
Nearly 10 years. I left after about 4 or 5, and then came back in after a year. I took a year out. I said, this is just, I came back in the second time round. That was it. But
And a successful spell as well in them.
oh
10
yeah,
years,
yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. But like, in
Trophies.
fairness, we were the top drawer. Like, we great teams. Like, and we do our set pieces. We'd play at 11 o'clock every Sunday morning, because I kind of wanted Sunday free. So we'd meet at 8:30, do all our set pieces on the ground before we went and played.
Mm.
And some mornings we'd have matches 11:15. No, it didn't always work out like that, but they're a great bunch of fellas too up there. And we'd had that was the second team. We'd first, second, and third team, and fellas would say, look, I'm signed for the first team. And say, no, you signed for the club. And if you can't play on, some fellas couldn't play on a Saturday afternoon with the second team if they weren't in the first team. Well, I said, you can play with the third team, and then sure, we'll work it out from there. There's football here for everybody, but then if you're good enough to be back in the first team, well, then we'll pick you in.
Yeah.
Sure, that's the way it was.
Yeah.
You go with your best friend in football
Jimmy Fagan
straight away. Yeah.
Still keeping regular contact, obviously, yeah.
still gives me brain damage.
Yeah. The hardest player you played against, manager or player?
Jesus. See, I didn't play that long. I was doing at 20. There was a few hard. I don't know. I was just an average, basic fella, playing. I could get around the place, and there was a few.
You said yourself you had the potential to kind of kick into the first team and drop it, so obviously
Yeah.
you held your own. Like.
So I couldn't really say because it didn't last that long with them, and
Playing
that it was.
As a manager, then would it be someone there that would
Anyone stick out that you would have played
There was some
against in the
great.
internationals?
Well, Tony O'Kelly was with Donamead Celtic. Was him and Tony and I picked Tony from Donamead as a player, but Tony, we had some great battles with Donamead over the years. But their friendship and the respect was on the pitch. We'd kick lumps out of each other. After that, it was done and dusted. And sometimes I remember coming out of a pub one night and getting into the taxi. Who was there? Tony. She had a great chat. I think he drove around for about 4 hours. We were talking.
Oh, we had to meet her on, did he?
No, we didn't. Tony was good. I mean, good battles with them, and in the amateur league. So, but there was a few fellas I can't remember. There was always one or two in that one year. You went down the country in the Junior Cup. You'd meet somebody
So we go to your favourite memory.
2015 winning the Regions Cup without a shadow of a doubt.
I think everyone that we've had on that was involved that said the exact same thing.
Was it the sense of relief as well?
Yeah.
For yourself a lot, because you said it's 18 years built up for you.
Well,
these lads are in there for a good couple of years before that, but for you alone, like I've Jimmy as well.
Not just for me, but like you have to remember the key committee stuck by me 110%, and all the people there. Well, that's what they knew the process was right, and it was more for them rather than
just the process, isn't it? Just the process.
Yeah, and then it became fellas wanted to be in the international team. They wanted to be part of it because the mood was good, the rumours were good. If you get in there and you know,
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Look at the draws sometimes. As you think the way things go, as in the group draws and stuff like that.
Well, sometimes there was no easy ones. There was always, you might have got one springer, but then there was always two, and then a dodgy one, like you know. Yeah. But they all had to be taken at face value, and you had to. If you weren't right, you were done. Yeah, and that's the way it was.
Don't leave it up to fate.
No, definitely not.
Right, we go with our last one, Ger. Do you have any in mind players that didn't fulfil their potential that you had?
Oh, that's a difficult one because, as I said to you earlier on, if I brought them in, that was it. But then they could have had a bad spell, could have been out of form. The next time you go and look at them, it's not going well. Then we never got involved in what was happening in our club, whether they were having a row with our manager, they weren't doing this, they weren't doing that. That wasn't us. We could only take them and get out of them what we could, and on the day and at the match. And look,
I'm sure players came in shined for a kind of season or two, and they went with the wayside and they probably went down playing Saturday football, Sunday football with their mates or something.
Yeah, and there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's their choice, like, you know. Yeah. I mean, then on the other side of it, you had Dean Kelly that went away and played with Oldham.
Yeah.
You know, you had other fellas that went and played
in the opposite direction. Yeah. Very good.
Would that have been a common thing? You're obviously, if you're going, say, looking at a player and you're looking at him to get him in, he has a good bit of form, then he drops a bit of form and you don't pick him or
don't forget, when he's dropping form, the fella around the corner is picking up form.
So you have to go with
what's on to the next.
Yeah. You
can't
wait around.
It's a vicious circle. Like, you know, I mean, I remember like one of the days I got a phone call from the FAI and Pat Costello, he said, Gerry, the senior team were to play somebody, there was a team to come over from England and they can't make it. Trapattoni wants a match. Will you play them? Now they're after drawing with Uruguay during the week or beating them. I said, jeez, man.
He's played them out in Malahoy, the midweek game.
Yeah,
during the day, I remember that.
So, Pat, oh yeah, look, you'll have to play them because we can't get anybody else. The people looking for money. So right, well look, I need to talk to the lads because I fellas
walk-wise down Cork
Friday afternoon. So I go back to him. I ran it past him, but I'm thinking, play the senior team. If we get pasted, what am I going to do? Like, there's no answer, you know. Anyway, went ahead, and Lacey could have scored. We were a goal down after 20 minutes, and we should have been 3-1 up at half time. And then they got an OG in the 89th minute. Paul McShane hit a shot, and it went off somebody's backside into the net, and we were beaten 2-0. But the funny thing was, we went down to we met in the Grand Hotel in Malahide to have a cup of coffee and a bite to eat, a sandwich or whatever it was for. I remember Conor Dillon walking in with big Snickers overalls on him and
coming straight from work,
screwdrivers hanging out of his ears, and Dean Kelly walks in with something else from the carpet with a brush and a shovel or something, and someone else is in working boots.
Probably newspaper in his hand.
I don't know, and those fellas coming.
Isn't it great though for an amateur, like getting the show and going, right, I'm getting to your boss, I'm out here, I'm playing for the amateurs tomorrow.
You've seen him as that's amateur lads. As you said, lads coming off site and come from that job to go play against. That's the game that actually Shane Duffy got injured in, wasn't it?
Adrian Carrick they both smashed into each other, did they?
Collided, yeah. He was a lucky boy, Shane.
Yeah, the doctor.
Ribs,
your doctor was that came on, was it?
No,
it was their doctor.
What happened was, and I was only talking to him after that, was so our doctor was there. But they had Alan Bourne.
Alan Bourne, that's who it was, right.
So it happened down at the far end, and kind of knew there was something. Alan was making all kinds of signals and all of this. But John O'Byrne, who was the senior team doctor, was off duty, and he just went to the match anyway to have a look at brought his son out I know John. I spoke to John afterwards, and so we kind of knew. Then the ambulance came flying, and it was gone out the door. But I didn't know anything after this. He was gone, beaten 2-0. I was delighted. They were all delighted. Trapattoni was to leave at half time, and he read a riot act to them at half time because it was only 1-0. And he wasn't happy at all because he had a match coming up against somebody the following week in the Euros or whatever it was, and he was going ballistic.
Probably seen his translator with all the hands, did you?
Yeah, and she was getting well paid for all her hands. She was getting more money than I was. Anyway, where was I going with that? Shane was lying on the ground, and the next thing he was carted off in the ambulance. So the match went on and on and on, and I got a phone call that night from Pat again, and I thought he was ringing me to say, well done, blah blah blah. He said, and Gerry says, Shane Duff, he's not good, like, Christ, that's all we need. No. Anyway, he pulled through.
Games,
yeah.
He got through, skin of his teeth, thank God. And look at him now, 6'6", big monster, like, and went up to see him 2 days later, and along with a few of the lads, and he was really happy. His parents were down, and
he was only young then at the
only
time, wasn't he?
19.
Yeah, I think it was Everton at the time, was it?
Yeah, he was only 19 after coming through, Poor Ado didn't know what went on. The two of them went for the ball. It was you'd see it out there, and
just
two fellas, you could up and walk away, and there
Yeah.
wouldn't be a peep out, and it was just
unfortunate.
just where it hit him in here somewhere, and that was it,
Yeah. Very good, right, Gerry? That's the end of us. So we came to
Thanks.
our end. Look, listen, thanks very much for your time.
Not at
That was
all.
brilliant.
Thanks,
Love
lads. Yeah, that was
Thank you,
great.
Gerry.
Thank you. Fair play.
Thanks very much.